Hello, everybody, and welcome into the 55th edition of Texas Longhorns Live. I'm your host, Matthew Miller, as always joined by my host, Gerald Goodrich, co-host. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out what we're trying to build here. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, no matter what. Doesn't matter the time or the date. Like last weekend, Memorial Day, we were still here, so we really appreciate you guys being here as well. Let's jump right into things. I guess not new, but 2027 QB prospects, a couple joined Texas on campus this weekend. 3 were scheduled, 1 joined late. We'll talk about who that was. What do you like about these guys, Gerald, and who sticks out to you of the 4 that were on campus this weekend?
Yeah, so to run you through the 4, Peyton Houston from Shreveport, Jerry Meyer III, got to bring that in from a Lone Star State kid, Malachi Ziegler from Louisiana, and then the late addition to the group, Gunnar Rivers. You may recognize that last name from a famous quarterback family, Phillip Rivers, who's based out of Alabama, and they all are. I don't know how to say this without sounding weird, but they all are kind of around or hovering around what Sark looks like looks for in a quarterback, but none of them seems to check all of the boxes, right? Where you have Peyton Houston from Shreveport, who's a little bit on the smaller side. Obviously, he's a rising junior, so he has some time to grow, right? You put on maybe an inch or so, and we're not having this conversation, but he's got some zip on the deep ball, throws receivers open really well. I love his arm. Meyer, on the other hand, Meyer and Ziegler, both of them are prototypical quarterback size that you're looking for. Same with Rivers, right? 6'2" and up, 6 foot, 6'2", in that range, right? Meyer, the first play on his highlight, if you go watch his huddle, my eyebrows went up when I watched it. Able to move the pocket really well, but it seems like his deep ball floats a little bit, and we just experienced 3 years of floaty deep ball, so I don't know if I'm ready to go back to that quite yet. Ziegler, prototype body, but I think probably the least developed passer of the 3. And then Gunnar Rivers, looks kind of like his dad back there, but the arm slots on his deep throws are a little weird. You see when he goes and throws a deep ball, his arm kind of goes less over the top and more like a 3/4. So again, he's got some time. He's obviously got a really good coach right there in his home. So he's able. But of the 4, the first question you mentioned, I lean towards Houston. I like his game. I know he's the smallest of the 3, but I think of the 3 guys, he shows the most zip on his deep ball, which I think is something that Texas needs at that quarterback position, while also not sacrificing the ability to move the pocket with his feet. So I think of all of the things I like about a quarterback, I kind of like Houston the most, even though he's the smallest of the 3.
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, when I looked up and dug into this Peyton Houston, I was like, wow, he's only 5'11", 190 pounds. He's definitely going to have to grow probably 2 inches and another 10, 15 pounds. And that's kind of the KJ Lacey mold, honestly. That's kind of who he reminds me of someone who is on the current roster, if I had to draw a comparison. Gunnar Rivers, who did come on the visit late, I would agree. He's more of a statue in the pocket, just like his dad. His dad was not mobile at all. Him and Tom Brady they might have been the slowest quarterbacks I've seen in the NFL during that time, but they were both very good in the pocket with pocket awareness and presence. And he's definitely the most physically gifted of the 4. I mean, Malachi Ziegler is pretty close at 6'2.5", but Gunnar Rivers is 6'3.5", already 205. There's a really good chance by the time he's done growing, we're talking about someone that's 6'5", 6'6", 220, 225. And the pedigree's there. We talk about these quarterbacks, think about who we have in the lineage. We have Arch Manning now, Diabell's coming in, and then if we get Gunnar Rivers, you're going from 3 pros as their dad. That means a lot, guys. It really does. It shows you the work ethic, what it takes to get to this level and stuff like that. And then obviously the coaching of Phillip Rivers as well will help you. But I don't know about that because he was late. And let's be honest here, he's from Alabama. I think it's going to be hard to get him out of that state in particular. But then his dad also went to NC State. And I think his dad seems like a pretty loyal, down-to-earth guy. And it would not shock me if, he kind of ushers his kid to NC State, as long as Dave Doran's there. If Dave Doran does eventually get fired there, then maybe that changes things. But maybe not. Maybe they hire Phillip Rivers as a coach at that point. I don't know. But I think there's a really good chance here that we land a really good player no matter what, obviously. And Texas likes to get this thing done fast. Diabell has been committed for almost a year at this point. So I expect this 2027 quarterback, whoever it is, is going to get shored up pretty quickly in the next, 4 to 5 months, honestly, guys. I really think it's going to be pretty quick and pretty close down the pipeline.
Yeah, it's not just a Texas thing. I think just the way that recruiting works now, you have your build around quarterback. You have that guy that's kind of the center of your class, the guy who is going to be out there actively recruiting folks and actively getting folks excited to join them on campus, right? It started at Texas with Arch Manning, right? We saw that. It didn't quite work out with some of the receivers that maybe he was recruiting in Texas, but John Tay Cook, we love you. Hope things are going well for you wherever the heck you are. But ultimately, I anticipate this being done at, if not before, start of the season, right? I think that's something that most of these kids want to go into their junior year with their spot secure. Texas wants to go into the bulk of that recruiting cycle with their quarterback locked down, which is kind of part and parcel with what recruiting is nowadays. I think if it's any of these four guys, I'm happy, right? There's a lot about all of them I like. I say this, I use this metaphor all the time. All of my critiques of each of them are very much pimples on the prom queen, right? Like you're looking for blemishes, you're looking for flaws. And ultimately, when Texas is recruiting at the level it's at the level of the elite programs in the country, that's kind of the situation we're in where we have to do that and we get to do that. So any of these guys, if Texas signs them, I'm through the roof. I have my preferences. That's my bias. I like a guy who can throw a receiver open and put a deep ball on a freaking rope. And I saw that from Peyton Houston multiple times. But again, if it's Myers, if it's Ziegler, if it's Rivers, or any of the other guys that I think Texas is courting right now, I'm happy.
Yeah, they usually have it narrowed down to this point, and they already do, to like 2 to 4 guys, and right now it's 4. Last year it was Troy Hoon and Diabell. We went to, decided let's focus in on Diabell, landed him pretty quickly after that. Troy Hoon, I believe now is committed to Penn State. He's a good player. Yeah. I think top 12 quarterback in the country. And these guys, they're all really highly touted players. Peyton Houston, 85th nationally, according to the 247 composite. I will say this, though. Jeremiah III is not ranked right now.
He's not.
Yeah, so that kind of surprised me. We'll see where he ends up ranked. I'm going to be honest, he probably doesn't end up more than a mid 4-star. But again, if that's who they like, then I don't really care because Steve Sarkisian has a pedigree of picking good college quarterbacks. Malachi Ziegler is 109th nationally. And then obviously Gunnar Rivers is 69th nationally. So he is the highest rated of these 4. And that would be my pick. I really am a big pedigree guy, and I think he would fit well in the Sark offense. He'd definitely be more of a Quinn Ewers type, stand in the pocket, get the ball out quickly. And I think, honestly, he already has better pocket awareness than Quinn Ewers. Like, no offense, Quinn Ewers, that was the biggest thing that I never really saw that much, or that he didn't get that much better at. He got a little bit better at, but he never was even good at it, honestly.
And I think the one advantage, and you mentioned Rivers would come in and be familiar and comfortable in the Sark offense. Go watch his tape on Huddle. It looks like the RPO scheme looks very similar to what Texas is throwing. He looks very comfortable throwing that RPO slant situation that I love to see Texas running and just being the better athletes on the field, which Texas is going to have in spades. So I think that is something that, to be said about a guy who's going to come in probably pretty polished, ready to play early, and already plays in a system in which Texas is going to skew towards schematically.
Yeah, the only concern, I guess I would say, is his competition that he does play isn't very high, but we've seen that, guys. I mean, that was a complaint about Arch Manning, like at
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson. So to me, if you stand out, that's all that matters. Like, yeah, if you're getting lost in the fold when I'm watching tape and I can't tell who the high 4-star is, that's an issue. But you can tell right away that he's much better than the players he's playing against. And that's what you want to see. It's kind of like, people say back in the 60s, 70s of Wilt Chamberlain playing like, oh, he was playing against mailmen. No, that guy stood out. Like he was a freak and you watched him. Same with Bill Russell. So that's kind of the same thing when you look at guys that are playing against worse competition. Do they stand out? Are they going crazy? And I think Gunnar Rivers does stand out on tape.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely does.
That does it for the 2027 QB prospects. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate it. The next topic we have up, how many first-team All-Americans could Texas have? Now, we'll expand this to how many total All-Americans they could have on the 3 teams. Athlon released their preseason All-American list. Texas had 3. They had Arch Manning, they had Anthony Hill, and they had Colin Simmons, who changed his number from 11 to 1 this year. Do you think Texas could have more? Do you think that's the right number? What do you think, Gerald?
Yeah, I think Texas has a chance to have more. A guy who didn't make that list initially is Michael Taff, who was a second teamer last year. He's going to be a guy who knows the defense really well, probably going to be relied on in quite a bit to be a playmaker on that back end with some of the younger guys kind of returning from injury or just being young. I also think your guy, Jack Endries, could be a guy who could see his name on that list toward the end of the year, especially very tight end friendly offense. Young quarterback usually turns out to be very tight end friendly as well. So I think that's another guy who could be there. I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe a Texas receiver, whether it's Ryan Niblett or whoever it might be. That's just the first name that popped up, but whoever is Texas's wide receiver one has a high likelihood of being on that list as well. And I think the dark horse for me maybe is CJ Baxter. I think Texas is going to look to probably try to establish the run with him, that zone running scheme that Sark really loves. And if he's back to full strength, I think he's probably in for a contract year. He knows that he could probably make it to the pros this year. I don't know the relative strength of the running back class in the NFL draft, but he's a guy who comes back and needs to have a healthy year at Texas to even retain his spot and retain his status on campus.
No, I agree. I think at most you could probably get 6, in my opinion. You're not going to get all the guys you'd want, but to list a few, you already hit on CJ Baxter. I agree with that. I think Ryan Wingo, obviously, if he has a breakout year, he could have it. I'm all on the Jack Endries train, so I agree. I think that is who, if we're talking about, I would put that guy as my number 4. I'm pretty confident he can end up as a first-team All-American. Michael Taft, I would agree with that as well. And then another sneaky guy on defense, I think Malik Muhammad, if he plays up to his potential, could probably land there. But this team has a lot of talent. I expect probably 7 to 10 All-Americans on the first 3 teams on this team. Honestly, all those guys I named, I think end up on an All-American team. I just don't know which one they end up on. But yeah, the Jack Endries one was, curious to me because other than Max Clare at Ohio State and Eli Stowers at Vanderbilt, I think those are the guys he's competing against. And I think he can have a better season. And also, guys, you got to remember, just like every sport, this matters how good the team you are, how good the team does that you're on. Eli Stowers, if they win 5 games this year, but he's the best tight end, and Jack Endries, is behind him in stats, and he's the second or third best tight end, but Texas is 11-1, they're going to vote Jack Endries on the first team over Eli Stowers. So that's something you have to consider too. And then honestly, if Texas is going to win a national championship, I think they have to have more than 3 guys. I do. I think they're going to have 4 to 5 guys make this list on the first team All-American.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to production, right? And I think we haven't talked about offensive linemen. There's an opportunity for some of these guys on the offensive line stepping in. Trevor Gooseby, whether it's him, Brandon Baker, DJ Campbell. If DJ Campbell has an All-American year, I think Texas is doing really, really well. Those are the guys that I also think Texas. I mean, we could also see, on the defensive side of the ball, whoever it might be steps up at defensive tackle, or you see a Ethan Burke at edge who also could make this list, right, or a second or third teamer on this list. Texas has, like you said, a lot of dudes. We don't know who they are yet, but I think you're absolutely right. Texas needs All-American level production from more than just 3 dudes if Texas is going to reach the goals that it has. And ultimately, I think on offense, you mentioned Wingo, it could be Niblett, it could be one of the young guys coming in. There's a lot of different options. I think Texas is going to have to be probably higher paced and higher volume offensively than they were a year ago. I just think by virtue of graduating and not having some of the pieces that they had, they're probably going to need to score more points. It just is what it is. So that bodes well for the offense having more All-Americans, because more stats on a good team, more All-Americans.
Yeah, I think special teams too. We didn't hit on that. Jack Baumeister, I believe, he was first team All Big 12. So, I mean, I think he could be first team All-American. The kicker, escaping my name, from Texas State, I think he could probably be first team All-American as well. And then guys that, deep down the list, Leongo Lafau, I don't think you're going to get both linebackers first team All-American, but could he make one of the 3 All-American teams? I definitely think he could. When we talk later about SEC Media Days and Sark's comments, he mentioned him specifically. I think if Derek Williams is healthy, he could probably make one of the 3 first teams. So I mean, this team is loaded, guys. There's really only, I'm trying to think, probably 2 to 3 offensive linemen that I don't consider making one of these 3 teams. And then Jalen Gilbo, honestly, on the defense, along with one of the defensive tackles. You could have 7 to 8 guys on that defense be considered for one of the 3 teams All-American wise. And that's realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are, we could pull names out of a hat all day on this. There could be a number of guys. I think that that Texas nickel spot always has a high production value. I think there's somebody who puts up a lot of interesting stats. So you mentioned Gilbo. I think that's great. We could pull names out of a hat all day long, but Texas has all of the horses in the barn to be able to put many names on this list.
No, I completely agree. I think Texas has plenty of talent. They're going to be ranked that's going to be interesting. We'll react to that, obviously, when that does finally drop, where they're going to be ranked in the first AP poll, but my guess is top 3, somewhere 1, 2, or 3. And this team is loaded. We have way more talent than honestly any point Texas probably ever had. 1 through 85, I would say. So it's really exciting times, and we'll see how many guys we can get on the All-American teams.
Exciting.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out what we're trying to build here. We really appreciate you guys doing that. Also, guys, if you know anyone that would like to sponsor any show, it does not have to be our show. It can be any show on the network. Please check that out. Here is a message from the Win Agency, which sponsors the Michigan channel. If you want to get your business, product, or service to the next level, please check out sponsorships at the Voice of College Football. Contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com today. We really appreciate you guys doing that. Again, it does not have to be our channel. It can be any channel on the network. And again, guys, please use the Amazon link in the description. I believe Prime Day is coming up in the next month. So check that out. It does not change the Father's Day is coming up as well. So check out Amazon. Use the link in the description. It does not change the buying process or experience. We really appreciate when you guys do that. All it does is put a little bit of change into Mark Rogers' pocket and help out the network that we're trying to go as well. And speaking of Mark Rogers, here he is letting you know.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Again, guys, we really appreciate you guys doing that. Also, 2 last things. Check out the Voice of College Football website. Just type in the Voice of College Football on Google. Read our fantastic articles by our creators here at the Voice of College Football. We really appreciate that. And then check out the Voice of College Football Instagram page. Follow there. Keep up with the content. We really appreciate you guys doing that as well. Next up, we are going to talk about, should the SEC secede from the NCAA? This is kind of something where Greg Sankey has floated this idea. You saw, honestly, everyone at SEC Media Days other than Sark made comments of, should the SEC be a part of the NCAA? Because they're kind of angry at how the college football playoff turned out. My personal opinion, I thought it was fine. I didn't really think Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina deserved to be in, but that's my opinion. Gerald, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm of a couple of minds here. One, the SEC is already getting its way. I'm a company man through and through. First of all, so I'm you will rarely hear me say bad things about the SEC because, well, I've got to hype our own brand, right? But ultimately, when I think about it, the SEC is kind of throwing a hissy fit over something that doesn't really matter all that much because, there is a world in which I think if you're a 10-win team in the SEC, you're probably in the college football playoff regardless of the situation. So it's weird for me to get all, bent out of shape about that. I don't love the direction that college football is heading. I think a lot of why I fell in love with college football is the regionality and the weirdness of it and all of that. And we continue to move towards this marketing-y, venture capital-y feeling situation that college football is in right now. I also will say I don't love the NCAA and the way that it's run itself for the last several decades, right? They haven't. They've abdicated most of the responsibility for the major things that they should be doing. They don't even award a champion in college football, right? They don't. They've been derelict in a lot of their duties. They've been crippled by the lack of urgency they've showed on NIL and the transfer portal, and they've kind of made the wrong decision in multiple ways. The way that they handle enforcement, where they'll let a big dog underdog go, but then they'll kind of like bludgeon a smaller school in and of itself. But I think leaving the NCAA is not the right move, ultimately, because it's not all about football. And I think if you leave for football purposes, the rest of the teams will suffer, right? The Texas Longhorns right now are sitting in a Women's College World Series waiting for their opponent. Looks like it might be Texas Tech, could be OU, but Texas Tech is leading right now. That's neither here nor there, right? Like Texas is super competitive in all of these other sports that would be hurt and hindered by leaving the NCAA. And so I think that to me is the biggest argument against it, is that, and Texas isn't the only school that is super competitive, right? Oklahoma, right? That's another SEC school, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, LSU, all these schools that are competitive in multiple non-football sports would take a major hit if the SEC ultimately decided to leave the NCAA, because if the SEC is going to take the thing that makes them money away, then why are they going to let the rest of those schools stay, or those sports stay around?
No, I agree to a certain extent. I'm fine with seceding from the NCAA if you can somehow keep or get the other conferences to do it as well. Like if you get the Big 10, Big 12, and ACC on board to secede, I completely agree with that, because at that point they're not needed. You don't need to do it. You guys can do it yourself. Like just have your 4 commissioners talk and set up a system. Now, I completely disagree if you're just going to be like, you know what, we're the SEC, we don't need everyone else for leaving, because I don't like that. I agree with you. The college football is different from the NFL for a reason, and that's why people are college football fans and not NFL fans in certain cases. And, you know, the talk of Notre Dame and USC not playing, to me, I know that doesn't have to do with the SEC, but that's just crazy. And there's some things like that I just don't understand why we just are changing for change's sake, I guess. That's what I see some of these things happening. I think it's really dumb, and I don't agree with it at all. And at the end of the day, I am a college football fan before I'm a Texas Longhorns fan, because, listen, without college football, who's Texas going to play? If the SEC secedes, are we just going to play each other, and then the SEC championship game is the championship? I don't like that. I would lose interest, honestly, if that did happen. I like when Texas plays Ohio State, Texas plays Clemson, Texas plays Florida State, Texas plays so on and so forth, Notre Dame, you know, when they play and compete for national championships against each other. That's boring if we're just playing conference schedules and end up with like a conference championship for the championship. So I completely disagree with it. Listen, can Greg Sankey be angry and at the same time stay in the NCAA? Yeah, he should do that. He should be angry and be like, you know, we probably should have got one more team in the college football playoff. Let's expand, blah, 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 blah. And I know people are talking about the 4 minimum teams getting in from the NCAA or from the SEC to the college football playoff if it expands to, I believe, 16 teams. I don't even see the need for that, honestly, because at 16, you're probably going to end up with 4 to 6 of them anyways, being from the SEC if the SEC stays with that. So a lot of these things kind of take care of themselves if you expand to 16. Yeah. By the way, after that, do not expand past 16. We've seen every sport in America water themselves down by expanding. I think the NFL has watered its product down. If you go and watch the first round of NFL playoff games, they are complete blowouts now, guys. They are complete blowouts. I had to watch my Denver Broncos get beat by 30 plus Buffalo Bills because they didn't deserve to play the Buffalo Bills because we were the 7th seed. That makes no sense why we got in the playoffs. The NBA is literally 70% of the league makes the playoffs. So why the hell does the regular season matter? Baseball honestly might be the only sport with it's a long regular season where it matters at least a little bit because they only allow, I think, 12 teams total. So they need to stop expanding as well because they just added a team on each side. So college football, I'm begging you. 1, SEC, do not secede, and if you do, bring the other teams with you. Number 2, stop expanding. It's got to stop. More doesn't mean better in every circumstance.
Yeah, and I mean it's all driven by money at this point, right? That's really what it is. The SEC wants more teams in there, and part of the way that the SEC is pushing for the 16-team playoff is them trying to have their cake and eat it too, because they're trying to keep the value of the SEC regular season by having these automatic bids and these weird play-in games that kind of substitute for a conference championship game, while also not really wanting to participate. It just seems weird to me. It seems, and this is weird. This is going to sound, weird coming from a Texas fan. It seems greedy in a terrible way that Texas, it just feels gross to me. It feels really, really gross. And ultimately, I think it's bad for the sport. I think it's probably not great for the athletes, not just like I mentioned on the football field. But again, You know, we're live right now at 7:28, and OU still sucks. They're getting beat by softball right now, right? Like all these other sports and all these other athletes will have a negative impact and outcome from it. Again, I don't love the NCAA. I've been very, very staunchly anti the way the NCAA has done a lot of things, but I think ultimately when it comes down to it, if you don't have the other support systems in place that the NCAA is currently providing, regardless of all the other things that I think the NCAA could be doing better, right? Providing the structure for the college basketball tournaments, the Women's College World Series, the World Series, track and field national championships are happening right now. Texas competed for a golf national championship, both the men and the women, a week ago. Texas got third in the nation in rowing this past weekend, right? Should have been first, still salty about that. But all of these things are still happening under and with the support of the NCAA. So that really, to me, is like the linchpin, right? If you can find a way to keep these other programs healthy and active, then see what you can do, right? And that would require, like you mentioned, bringing the other conferences with you, right? Creating something outside of the NCAA with the Big Ten, with the ACC, with the Big 12, and potentially with even this like new look Pac-12 that they're starting to form out on the West Coast, right? All those things I think need to happen for me to feel good about that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We fans don't like the NCAA because they've been reactionary and haven't set up their system to adapt with the times when they knew stuff was happening. So it would be the exact same thing if the SEC decided, you know what, it's 2028, we don't have to be here anymore, because I believe that is timeline 2020 or 29 where we could actually do this. And then we just secede and we don't have a plan. Well, guess what? That's just what the NCAA did. So don't be reactionary. You have 3 to 4 years now. If this is your plan, talk to the other commissioners, get everything set up, and then get out, and it'll be a smooth transition. And I would have no issue with that. I don't think anyone would have any issue with that. But if you're just going to be reactionary like the NCAA, guess what? You might as well just stay in the NCAA.
Exactly, right. Exactly. And again, that's my big issue with the NCAA is the reactionary nature of how they've done it and the kind of the weakness of the enforcement arm and how they do it. But again, if you don't have the support for these other sports that, you know, I love watching and these players love watching, then it's not a fair and good move for Texas and for the sports overall.
No, 100%. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. That does it for the SEC. Should the SEC secede from the SEC or NCAA? Geez. Okay, so we do have a couple Buckeyes in the comments. We do appreciate you guys being here. Oh no. That's what I'm going to say to that. I could be meaner, but I'll keep it PG to that. Lisa says, go Buckeyes. And also can't wait for this game. It should be fun. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, Gerald, but if you go to the video we made last week about the Ohio State fans, like we didn't say crying, but, you know, complaining about the time of the game and everything like that. There was like 130 comments on that video from Ohio State fans, like basically cussing us out. So
there's no such thing as a bad interaction when it comes to algorithm. So keep it up. Be mean to me. I don't care. I can take it. I'm almost 40. I've got 3 kids. I'm married. You say whatever you want to me. I feel good about it. But I'm with you, Lisa. I am so excited about this game. My podcast, we kick off our season previews this week. Like that's how close we are. We're like 12 weeks out from games. I'm so stinking excited for it.
Yeah, I think it's either 89 days or 90 days exactly for the game. So it's this offseason has gone by very quickly, by the way. Last offseason, I think, took forever, at least in my perspective. This offseason's gone by very quickly, and super excited for that game.
It's also shorter than every other offseason in the past because of the playoff.
Yeah, when you're good, you know, that tends to happen. You play longer, the offseason's shorter, it's more fun, you have something to look forward to. Whereas, you know, Charlie Strong and Tom Herman era, I had to smoke on that copium. Because that's all I had.
Admittedly, being good is a new experience for folks that have joined the fandom in the last, 15 years or so.
Yeah, it's, you know, we were really good when I was younger, and then through most of my middle school, high school, college life, we have been not good at all. So it's been nice to be good again.
Yes, it has.
Next topic. So Sark speaks out at the SEC media day. He had a lot to say. Unlike most coaches, he talked about his own team. We really didn't hear many comments about the SEC overall or anything like that. So here's some notes for you guys. Derek Williams is staying at safety. There's no move to star in the works. He is a safety. That's what Sark said. Sark declined to say if Gilbo would stick at corner and move back to nickel full time. So to me, without answering that question, that's kind of like pleading the fifth. He does not know at this point. Like he could slide back outside, or he could slide outside, stay there. He could go back inside. We'll have to see. He also said the linebacker was probably the biggest position he was most excited about because Leongo Lafau, Brad Spence, Ty Anthony Smith, Trey Moore, and Bo Barnes have been playing very well through the spring. Mentioned that the O-line is inexperienced, but there are guys there who have come up through the ranks and paid their dues and played very well. He also talked about the Matthew Caldwell situation. If you don't know that, he's the quarterback that transferred from Troy. He's basically going to be our fourth string quarterback. He might be third. I don't know, but he's either going to be third or fourth. He said, we've lost a QB for some time to injury every year. I've been at Texas. Said he wants to make sure whoever takes snaps at QB for whatever reason is ready to go and up for the task. And then he talks about the portal. Every coach that I saw, and I completely agree with this, said, we want one portal window. We want it in January, and then it's done. So, or before January, and then going into January, you know what your team is. And I completely agree with that. That gives you basically 6 to 7 months to do what you need to do with your football team. So, Gerald, what did you take away from Sark's comments, and what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, there was a lot. Also, you did mention there that he also pushed back on the $40 million roster idea, which is something that was pretty interesting because you know what? If Sark has not been shy about Texas doing what it needs to do on that front. And so the fact that he's like, nope, that's not an accurate number. Now, could it be 38 million? That's another conversation. But ultimately, I think him calling that out is pretty interesting. I think the things that really jumped out to me the most were when he talked about the inexperience at offensive line, he also mentioned that there were other priorities in the portal. We didn't feel like we needed to go to the portal to upgrade the offensive line, which to me is a really good sign. The way that Texas has targeted the portal in the past, right? It's been like, hey, we know there's a fire here. We know we need bodies here. They've been aggressive when they don't like what they have in that group, and they weren't at the offensive line. We talked about it before, and he specifically called it out. There were other priorities in the portal we didn't feel like we needed to add at the offensive line. That to me makes me feel a little more confident. I didn't have a lack of confidence in the OL, but I did they're young, they're inexperienced, they've never played together as a unit. All those things kind of spark in the back of my head. Shout out to our Ohio State fans. You guys are going to show us early in the season whether this team and this offensive line unit will be really good. That's my biggest concern coming into this, and I'm still, having nightmares about it. But ultimately, that's a thing that jumped out to me. The other thing, really, the linebackers. I think we knew that this unit was going to be really good. We knew that they're going to be strong, especially, you have Anthony Hill and Leongo Lafau at 1 and 2. You're going to be solid, but the fact that they're so deep at that position really excites me. Trey Moore, I guess official. This is the official announcement that he's a linebacker because he was on that list, right? We didn't know he was listed with the linebackers, but what was he going to be doing? So officially at a linebacker position now, but that group being that deep is good because, ultimately that's a position that's a linchpin for Texas and the way that Pete Kwiatkowski likes to run his defense.
No, I agree. And I think Trey Moore and Brad Spence will be tweeners. I think you'll see them line up at edge sometimes, line up at linebacker. But I agree. We've talked about, or I've especially talked to this, but you have as well, Gerald. We love versatility on this defense. So to have guys that can line up all over the field, I think that helps us out, obviously. And I agree. I think this is the deepest the linebacker group has been in my lifetime, honestly. It's been super deep. Bo Barnes is your 6th or 7th string linebacker. That's pretty damn good. There's a time where if he was our 3rd, I would have been okay with it, but he's like our 5th or 6th or 7th guy now. So I expect
4 years ago, he might have been the best linebacker on the team.
Yeah, that is true. Ty Anthony Smith, I expect to have a really good year. When he played, he was pretty good. He just needed to beef up. He's running around at 200 pounds. That's not ideal for a linebacker. Now he's up to 215. He still needs to beef up a little bit more, but 215 is good enough, especially in pass coverage, which I will say is our weakest part. Leongo Lafau's not great at it. Anthony Hill needs to work on it, but maybe this guy is the guy that we use kind of in that Maurice Blackwell role, where we use him to cover the running back out of the backfield or the tight end or a slot receiver in certain instances. So I really like that group. And I agree with you, left guard to me is the biggest question mark on the offensive line. Is Neto going to be ready? We'll have to see about that. And it's going to be very interesting to see. Because I'm confident in left tackle. I think Trevor Gooseby is going to be really good. I think Cole Hudson at center is going to be good. I think DJ Campbell at right guard is going to be good. I think Brandon Baker at right tackle is going to be good because if they're already talking about Nick Brooks as a future first-round pick and that guy's listed above him, that tells me something right there. So really just down to the left guard. And the good thing about Ohio State is if you ask their fans, their biggest weakness right now in question mark is their interior of the offensive line. So if he is a weakness, and they're a weakness, it kind of cancels each other out because I think we're pretty good at the edge positions at the tackle, like I said. So I think it's very interesting. And I'm glad you hit on that $40 million thing because that was BS. Like, I try to tell people, no offense, Kirk Bowles, but he's wrong all the damn time. Him and Chip Brown don't know what the hell they're talking about most of the times. They put things out that are clickbait. That got a lot of clicks, moved around. It went everywhere. And I could tell you it wasn't 40 million because guess what? We're not going to increase our roster spending $15 million in 1 year. You're not going to increase something by 50 to 60% in 1 year. That's just not going to happen. In 2 to 3 years, going to be 40 million. Yeah, probably. Honestly, probably will be. But right now, I think you're probably looking at 30 to $33 million. And that's accounting for the boosters. I'm not counting Arch Manning in that with his Red Bull, Viore, Uber, because guess what? That's what true NIL is. That's a definition. If you can go out and get your own money, I really don't care. I agree. There probably should be a cap on what boosters can do. I would have no issue with that, but you can't throw in Arch Manning's money into that when he's probably making $6 to $8 million, honestly, from all those deals. That's true NIL money.
Yeah, I mean that's the caveat, right? I think some of those numbers are probably inflated because of what they're getting from the NCAA football games, right? What they're getting from the group marketing that they're doing by selling the jerseys with the names on it. So I would be curious to see what the math is without those pulled out, right? You mentioned Arch with all of the endorsements that he's doing now, right? Whether it's the baseball the baseball cards or whether it's Red Bull or whatever, he's doing some other apparel thing, I don't know, whatever it is. But like all of those things are probably accounted in there, and I don't necessarily think that should count, right? You're going to count Jordan Whittington's teeth bleaching Instagram post that he made from 4 years ago, right? Did that count in the NIL valuation for that team? I don't think so. So we've got to be a little more honest about those numbers. But it's off season, it's talking season. We're going to see more of this crap come out.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's it doesn't get real until we have actual media days where coaches get to go up on the podium and everything. Obviously, we'll be here to break that down as well. And honestly, I really like that. What I like that because Sark is honest. Like Sark will tell you, hey, we're not really great here. We're not, we need to work on this, this, and this. Whereas last year he said this might be my most talented team at Texas. I was like, that kind of, sparked something in me of like, oh, this team's going to be really good. Because I'm going to be honest, I wasn't as high on last year's team as I was the previous year's team. And when he said that, I was like, you know what? He's honest. He really hasn't lied while he's been here. I'll believe him. And what do you know? They went 11-1. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about this team. Will he say that again? This is my most talented team. We'll have to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent. I think it's unproven. I would imagine Sark's going to be pretty guarded with his praise of this team because I think we've talked about it before. There's a really big delta between the floor and the ceiling for this unit. So I think may not be as effusive with his praise as he's been in the past.
No, that's very true. Again, guys, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It really helps us out. Lisa also said it's not about Texas per se, speaking about the time of the game. It's more about having too many noon games, and I agree with that. Like, it's annoying. I would be really angry with the former Big Ten commissioner, Kevin Warren, because that was a stupid deal. I never understood that, why they get to dictate. They want the best game at noon, and I think that's dumb, but it is what it is.
It's wild. Yeah, I understand. Like, do not hear me saying that like it is not okay to be frustrated by that. As somebody who watched a lot of Texas games early because they sucked for a long time, I get why nobody wants to watch that 11 o'clock spot. Having your team be the marquee team at the 11 o'clock spot, it's one of those like two-edged swords, right? Because the reason why Ohio State keeps getting picked is because, and I'll say this, you all move the needle as good as any other brand in college football. I feel comfortable saying that, right? Ohio State is one of those needle mover teams. That's why this would be the big game of the week any week of the season. But ultimately, like, Ohio State moves the darn needle for folks, and it's a money game. It's been a money game since OU sued the NCAA back in the 80s. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, it sucks. I completely understand being frustrated by that. So don't hear me saying that that's not frustrating, because that is a pain in the keister.
Yeah, 100%. And it used to be, she's talking about the offensive line or defensive line, I'm not sure, but it used to be. But now with our new O-line coach now, I think the D-line is our biggest concern. We lost a lot in depth there isn't good. Yeah, I've heard that too from Ohio State fans in the Ohio State channel here, that the D-line is definitely the biggest issue. And I've heard really big complaints about Larry Johnson as well, that he's kind of over the hill at this point.
You know what? It's Ohio State has, I think, a lot of really good tenured coaches. I will. Brian Hartline and I are going to have an out. He'll kick my butt, but I still will stand my ground if he comes. Like, it's just stand at Texas, man. But no, I think Ohio State, there is very little excuse for Ohio State to not have elite coaches, much like for Texas. I would say the same thing about Texas. So I think you have to be able to. There's Ryan Day needs to do something about that. I think it's probably the right way to say that, because you are Ohio State. Like there's no two ways around it. Like you have everything you need to be elite on every level. So hopefully they can get that shored up again. Maybe after the first week of the season, maybe week 2. I want y'all to be great for every other week other than week 1 of the season for various reasons. But yeah, man, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it helps our resume. I'll take it. We'll win, and then you can go undefeated, and then we can be the number 1 seed. That works for me. Again, guys, this has been the 55th edition of Texas Longhorns Live. We really appreciate you guys being here. Please like, please subscribe. Every Monday, join us here, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. That is my Twitter right there, or X, whatever you want to call it. Go follow me right there. This is Gerald's Twitter, X, or Blue Sky. Go follow him right there, and also his Longhorn Pod, which, again, guys, you can listen to us on Spotify at the Voice of College Football. You can also listen to him on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, anywhere you want to listen to your podcast, you can get it. Same with the Voice of College Football, whether that's Iowa, USC, Texas. Please check it out. We really appreciate you guys being here. Again, guys, hit that like and subscribe. And as always, hook 'em.
Hook 'em. Watch women's softball.